Well, we showed earlier that there are many different ways landscape designers use to indicate a symbol and an association to a species, and we covered some of those in the earlier video in this series. What we did show in there was that it's possible to tag individual symbols, and we used this show symbols with names, and that showed us that the majority, or in this case all bar one, of the symbols in this design has been tagged to a particular entry in a plant database file, and I've used the gCAD GCP file, and you can see that in the status line at the bottom of the screen. And now, because they've been tagged, whenever we click on one of these, we see the botanical name, common name and code in the properties box to the left. So to complete that for this design, I want to tag the last of those. So it's plant schedules and set data to a plant. So I click it and up pops the gCADPlus GCP file, and I want Agonis, so I can just type in here Agonis and that picks it. So we want Agonis fluctuation, maybe we pick this burgundy version of it and we'll OK it. So now when we select the symbol, it shows, its information shows over there in the properties box. So we're now ready to use some of the automated tools in gCADPlus. Well, you may remember that we showed a very simple way of labelling a symbol. That's just put a code in the middle of the symbol, and that can be done automatically by going to gCADPlus and select this option here, apply a code to the center of all selected symbols. So we're asked to select the symbols we want. Let's just grab all of them in this area and we'll hit enter, and we need some sort of height here. This is an example from the US, so I'll take 0.3 as my height, and then I'll unselect all, and you can see now as we zoom in, every one of these species has a symbol located in the middle of the... I'm just hesitating a little because a number of these have got quite a complex symbol. Let's pick this one here. This is Acacia cognata, the fettuccine type. So it's Acacia. It's got an unusual, it has an unusually long code from the database. We could look at this one here. Juniper horizontalis is simple, as is the philodendron. That's the one we were just looking at. Here's Cupressus sempervirens glauca. That's the narrow version of the pencil pine. So I'm just hesitating. No need to hesitate. The code, the correct codes, have been placed in the center, and you could then print that design. Your job is essentially done, but what you then need is a plant schedule with that code and the botanical and common names. So let's see if we can generate a custom plant schedule that will show that code and enable, and properly we'll put also the symbol in there, and that will enable us to identify individual symbols in this little design. Well, let's make that schedule, and that's gCADPlus schedules and lists down here to plant schedule, and we need a custom schedule. Do we want to include the plant symbol in this schedule? We will. Do we want the red markers? No. Do we type? No. Code? Yes, we definitely want the code. Do we want the pot size? No. Botanical name? Yes. Common name? Yes. Do we want to put one underneath the other? I'll say no. And for height, I'll type 0.2. This is a US example. So corner point there, and we'll come across there, and there's the schedule drawn. Now we could repeat that and make it a little more cramped. So I just enter, 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 and again rattle through those because gCADPlus is remembering the settings, and we want to do a much smaller and tighter schedule, and there we are. So now there's the symbol and there is the code. So the client can determine which particular species it is by looking at the symbol, or preferably by that code that sits in the middle of each symbol. Well, let's now look at some of the other methods that can help you label plants now that we've got each symbol attached to an entry in the plant database file. If we pick that little piece of text, you can see that it's on a label called L-Auto Label, so we can go to that layer and just turn those labels off. So now what I want to demonstrate, having put those out of the way for the moment, is gCADPlus has a smart label tool. So let's pick it, and the prompt says select the symbol or adjacent copies of the same symbol. So we'll try and label this one, and we're invited or told to hit the enter key for the next step. Do you want to label it with a line or a leader? We'd like to do it with a leader because that gives us flexibility over placement. Input the first point of the leader, we're labelling this plant, and then we'll head out in the direction we want the leader line to go. And do we want to pick up the code? Well, yes, we want gCADPlus to look at that association and pick up the code. Do we want the botanical name? I don't think we do at the moment. Or the common name. Do we want to pick up a count? Well, no, because it's just one of these now. And I'll right click to finish. So there's the code that's gone in. So if I pick that symbol, it's Plumeria rubra, the frangipani, and I can position. Remember, our advice is to keep the leader line as short as possible. So that works really well. Let's look at labeling these two examples are Acacia cognata. There's another one over there, and putting a identifying line in there, I'd prefer that to not overlap. So let's hit that tool again, or select that tool. I can right click and select the command is smart label, select the symbol or adjacent copy, so I'll pick that one and that one, they're the same species. Hit enter. I do want the leader. First line, we'd pick up this one, go to the second one, and do we want to pick up the code? Yep, we do. We don't want the botanical name or the common name. Do we want to pick up the count? Yes, we do. And in goes the leader. So let's pick it, and we can move it around. So now we would just need to put another line from there across to there. So two of Acacia cognata, a particular standard form, is now specified as an entry. I'll show you later there is another way to connect one to the other and come out here, but that works well enough, I think, to demonstrate that smart label tool. The advantage of using the smart label tool is that you can move things around really easily. Let's use the smart label tool again, and we'll pick this symbol here and hit enter. Just take all the defaults, and I'll come up here. Notice that polar goes on when you are doing this, and you'll see the result of that. I'll just click, and do you want to pick up the code? Yes, I do. And we work through those same defaults, and I'll right click to finish. So we were just labeling this. Let me just regen. We were just relabeling this particular symbol down in here for the Cupressus sempervirens. Can you see the leader lines cross, which looks ugly? So I can, but it went in at 45 degrees because polar went on when we were labeling. That can be really helpful when you want all your leader lines to work in the same direction. But what this enables me to do is very easily move that one out of the way. It still crosses here, so I could just do that sort of thing, and you can see I'm just searching for a spot so that lines don't overlap and get in the way. So I'm not convinced by the way that we need this extra line in here. I think any label that shows a couple of adjacent symbols of the same type and it's got a 2 in there or a 3 in there, it's pretty obvious that these are Abelia grandiflora, these 3 symbols in here. Well, we still do have some landscapers who want to connect the centre point of all the symbols in the way that we demonstrated in the first movie, and for that we've got a different approach, or we have a different approach. So we can say gCADPlus and broad scale planting, we want to label a group of symbols. So we can label, we can pick that command and select a species for plant label that's affected. This is a philodendron. So we'll hit enter and we've selected it. Now the prompt says, do you want single tagging or multi-line? And this one we want multi-line. So we pick the first of them. See how the tool snaps to the insertion point and the insertion point and the insertion point. I hit enter and the point location of the tag, point 3 we'll use, and in goes the symbol. Now you'll notice the symbol in this case has gone on to a layer called broad scale, so I have to either directly change its colour or go to the broad scale here. It's being inherited by block, so we'll just set its colour to nearly black and we'll OK it, and now the symbol, those symbols are tagged and we can move them around. Let me just set the, it's hard to see isn't it, set these here and I'll make the line weight much clearer. I'll even make the I'll set the colour of these directly to red and I'll put line weight on. So what happened there was the line went from the centre of that symbol to this one, to that one, and then out to the right. This time they're all broken up, and there are landscapers who want a dot after the number of instances of that plant. So we hope we've given you lots of different methods and ways of doing things in the gCADPlus environment as far as labelling your symbols are concerned.